You may wear the "Hello, my name is" name tags if you'd like, but I kind of have a feeling with these folks it's not necessary. Let me go ahead and introduce our panelists. Of course, over here on my far right is James Marster. Next, we have Michelle Trachtenberg. Nicholas Brendan. Don't look back. I'm sorry, Allison Hannigan. Creator Joss Whedon. Executive producer Marty Noxon.
And baby.
Director of photography Raymond Stella. And production designer Carrie Meyer. We were chatting before you came out about the musical episode. And so I thought that would be the first thing I would ask you about, Joss. What were the origins of that episode, and how did you know that you had a cast that was up for that?
Allie begged me and begged me. She said, when can I sing?
Nope.
It sort of started in a roundabout way with James, actually, who, when we were making Fool for Love, his episode, he mentioned that it was like being in rep, doing all these different parts when he was playing Spike in his many guises from the past, and that made me think about that we should start doing some play readings, which we do at my house sometimes with some of the cast. At the first play readings, everybody was so terrified that we got a little drunk. And
look what happened.
Yeah, we suddenly.
Hey, Marty, prove it, all right? Prove it.
Nothing I say could be that interesting. Anyway, not quite that drunk. No, not that. Oh, God. That's coming back to haunt me.
That's bad.
Comfortable enough to sit around the piano singing, those of us who never had. And that's when I started to realize how many great singers I had. James suddenly seemed to have his guitar all the time. At the drop of a hat, or actually even with no hat, he would play, and he's written amazing songs. Tony, of course, has been singing for years. That's what started. We all wanted to hear Tony sing.
And Joss didn't even know you could write songs at first.
Well,
You said you sucked.
I thought I was brilliant.
and then he would come out with like a song that would like lay waste to everyone, and everyone's like, I'm not crying. Every time.
Drunk. And anyway, I always, from the very first episode, I wanted to make a musical more than anything in the world, and finally I realized I had a cast who could handle it, and I actually had a couple months off. So like I said, it's a long story, but that's why. Because I realized I was going to get one opportunity, that I'd never make another show that would lend itself to that. I'd never have a cast that was this talented on so many levels. And there was stuff I didn't even know about yet. And about how good they could be and how hard they could work. They didn't know how hard they could work either. They're a little pissed. So I finally sat down and conquered the fact that I can't actually play the piano and wrote it. And then they all had to do it. Because I'm their boss.
Who surprised you the most? Who had the undiscovered musical talent that you discovered?
I would have to say the biggest surprise for me was Emma. Because Emma had never come to the house, and what a voice, and what a dancer, and plus I knew she was funny and all that stuff, but that was really just a shock. She's clearly.
Make no mistake, though, we were all terrified. Like from the actor's standpoint, we didn't know we could do that. I mean, we were terrified. No, please, we don't really want to do that. We didn't sign up to be a musical actor in front of 6 million people. Hell.
Well, and not to mention that we got a little CD of Joss playing the piano and his wife Kai singing, and she has an incredible voice, and she was singing all the female parts. It's like, well, I can't do it like that. Just get Kai to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like saying you show up, anybody, whatever your job is, your job the next day is juggling. Okay?
Yeah. I said not to give anything for season 7 away.
Well, that's the problem for the actors is what are you going to do with us this year? Because you keep doing weirder stuff every time.
It's gonna dullness. We haven't explored it, but I think it's cool.
We're going to have to do everything backwards or something.
Nicholas, did you enjoy the singing and dancing? Would you like to? Come on, would you like to do some for us?
I think Nick has a little number prepared for us.
To be honest with you, actually I do have something prepared.
All right. Very good.
No, in all honesty, it changed my life a little bit because I started acting when I was 25, so I didn't do any theater or any musical theater when I was growing up. Was an athlete, and then I was a bum for about 4 years,
Waiter.
Which is a bum.
Yeah, okay.
And if you're not, that's what people see you. Okay. You're a bum. And so when I went into this musical, I wasn't terrified. I had started acting because I went into acting and I didn't know what I was doing, and I booked the show. So my thing was when Josh said we're doing a musical, I'm like, all right, cool. I've got nothing to prove. I'm not a singer. I'm not a dancer. Whatever I do is better than what I haven't done. And my wife Tressa, it was funny when we were doing this episode. Just sometimes when you got to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, the alarm goes off. It's a hard wake up. It's like Christian, and then you snooze for a while, and all of a sudden you're late for work. So you take a fast shower.
That's just you, Nick.
But I fixed that.
Snoozes for 3 hours.
But with this episode, I just bounced out of bed, and it was I love going to the studio and singing. I realized that really I wasn't a singer because I can sing for 2 hours and then my voice went away, which is why we had 2 sessions. And then working on the dancing and then having it all come together, I just had the best time of my life, and it was just a blast. So yeah, I had fun, a lot of fun.
Allison? Huh? Would you like to sing?
Hey, lady.
I constantly threatened laryngitis and never wanted to be, no. So I have very, very little singing in the musical, but once I found out the magics of technology, wow, I would have been, give me a solo, Joss.
We didn't use any of those things.
Right. Oh, yeah, sorry. I would have been a little more confident, I think, but yeah.
And how about you, Michelle?
Yes, that was my next question. Very good.
You were enthusiastic at first, as I recall.
Oh, woohoo was the first word that came to my head. Singing makes me very, very nervous, but it's all your fault. I love dancing, and that was my thing. I requested very little singing and a whole lot of dancing, and you actually choreographed. Joss did the whole thing. He showed me the loops and the jumps and the flips.
And he was wearing the same costume, which was kind of odd.
It's very odd, but I was
They're
worried it wouldn't look good on
slimming,
me.
okay?
But it was a lot of fun afterwards. Allison threatened laryngitis, and I actually had it. So I had psychosomatic tonsillitis. I was so petrified.
The thing was, everybody had a different reaction when I first told them, and it really did run the gamut from extreme joy to large hatred, and
And fear in between.
and some in between. There was some joyful hatred, and
No, just fear.
but because I knew who loved to sing, who was afraid to sing, who had what, I had everybody's range. I knew that Michelle wanted to dance. We broke the story around everybody's particular wants and talents, so that I knew Amber sings a ballad. She's a ballad singer. Same with Tony. James is going to sing some rock and roll because he's James, and he's Spike too. So it worked out pretty well. And once we'd recorded everything, which was a difficult, arduous, and endless process, and dance rehearsals and all the things, all the while shooting the show. So when I stress how hard everybody worked, I'm not kidding. I've never seen anybody, any television crew or cast work that hard ever. Once we got there and into it, everybody just shone. I mean, there is like, every single one of them, because I've watched that thing more times than anybody. Because I'm an incredible narcissist. And it's just extraordinary to me to see, and it was on set every day, everybody just glowing like they lived in a musical. Nobody came to work and said, I'm nervous, I have to dance. They all came to work and said, this is what my life is now. I sing and dance. And
It was like bungee jumping.
yeah.
And our crew sang
Exhilarating.
too. They were so
Yes.
sweet. They'd just hum along.
Yeah, well, every day was a
In
different
between
song, and by
takes.
the end, everybody was sick of it and humming it.
Jess kept yelling at me because while I was dancing, I was singing the lyrics, and it was just not good because I didn't have to know the lyrics. It was supposed to be magic. No magic. I knew them.
Carrie, what were some of the challenges in creating sets that could be used?
Pretty much, we almost shot the entire show on existing sets, except for some locations which we had to go find.
Those
And
sets
building
rock.
the big staircase for the tap dancing.
A big staircase for the stage.
Come on, that's a thing.
Yeah, okay. Well, that was the one thing we added to a set, yeah.
Now, you mentioned to me back there that you've created, is it 200 sets at least for Buffy since in the 6 years?
I mean, that was just a guess, but yeah, I think we've, we average like, I can't even say, at least 200 sets we've built for over 6 years.
Is there one that you're particularly proud of? That's your favorite set that you've built, created?
I guess it probably the mansion, the vampire mansion from second season.
That's very cool.
Yeah, the second half of second season.
Oh, come on. I like the
The
library.
meat packing of the first half of the second.
The meat packing, Spike and Drusilla's, yeah. That was,
I like the
that was
one,
killer
the
sets.
one that was the church and the library and Adam's Lair and like 14,000.
Well, yeah, I mean, we-
Then you used it for the
Okay, we built 200
sewers.
sets, but we would take like one set and make it
Yeah.
into 15 different sets. So if you're an avid watcher of the show, you'll notice you'll see one set
classroom.
15 different times, redressed and repainted and
It's just a
rebuilt.
different filter, and that's where Ray comes in.
That's right.
Seriously, though, when it comes out on DVD, a lot of people are going to appreciate the sets that you make because they're so detailed. They're really on par with a feature, where a feature has to be believable when it's blown up to this size, which means that it all has to look real when you're walking through it. And a lot of times a TV set doesn't look that real because it doesn't have to. It's so small and so fuzzy. But your stuff, I swear to God, even going down the back alley, everything that's just brand new, it's just so heavily textured.
The other
Seriously,
thing
props, man.
about the infamous musical was that a lot of the things I saw for the first time, partially because it does look different than any episode we've ever done. And this is actually about young Ray here. It's not just all with filters, but I've, to be doing the show, the person who's on set every single minute of every single working day is the DP. And Ray here, in the middle of making a show that already has a very stylized and difficult look, to make the musical, which looks unlike any episode we've done, but still looks like the show. Really, the way it showed off the actors and the sets. Like, I wrote, not just to their talents, but to the sets. I wrote Nikki and Emma's song as a kind of 30s pastiche because of the look of that set being so deco, and sort of also the way her costumes had been the year before. So that's why they got that particular number, and the way it's lit and the way it looks. It makes a huge impression. It's gorgeous.
There was the musical episode, which we were talking about, but then later this season, and that was very fun, obviously. But the show took a very kind of a dark turn. I mean, don't you think so? People said
That was
that.
funny. What?
Don't look at me like that.
This is the first I've heard of this. Explain more. Dark and...
Seriously, Marty and Joss, I mean, a lot of people kind of complained. They thought it had taken too dark of a turn. I mean, how do you guys respond to that?
Oops. With the mic.
With the mic. Okay, I was talking to the mic. You probably could. He was saying, "I liked it, mommy." I think it was so much a response to the relationship that Buffy found herself in with Spike. Really drove, to my mind, so much of the second half of the season, and then of course the turn with Willow. And I don't know if we ever stopped to think that these storylines would be going on at the same time.
We did have a mission statement, which was like, they get out in the world, and it's really hard. I don't think we understood exactly how disturbing we were going to get, and but that was sort of the idea. It was to get them to a really dark place, and particularly towards the end, Willow's character. But that's partially because there were things we wanted to explore that really were dark, and partially because it's nice to be able to give that to your actors, even though occasionally you can depress them to death. To be able to, I mean, come on, how about Dark Willow? She was so cool.
Why did I have to be so veiny?
Well, I wanted to go with acne. It was,
That's kind of a perfect thing. I mean, Buffy grows up, and so does everybody around her. And as everyone knows, you move out of mom's house and things get weird, So the issues, I think that it was very wise to let Buffy graduate high school and become a young adult. And it would be silly to try to keep the issues, first love, first kiss, boyfriend gets mean on you. It has to develop if it's going to be organic and be true to someone growing up.
Which doesn't necessarily mean that it always has to be as dark as it was this year. I mean, we had to sort of buy back the fact that Buffy had been dead and had been in heaven, and that her experience on Earth was going to be a real journey and a real struggle. But we definitely do aspire to, make things a little less grim next season on UPN.
Some of our characters don't want to die. Tune in.
Allison, when did you know that Willow was going to try to destroy the world?
Oh gosh, well, when I was sitting at home watching it, what the hell is she doing?
She can't
By
create
the
new
9th
memories.
month, we're just like, oh, I can't see. Okay, what are my lines? Or no. It was.
I've got black hair. Why? What happened?
I had little just hints, I guess, but.
Black hair being one of them.
Yeah.
And then the contacts
My makeup
was the main hint.
When my makeup call became like an hour earlier, I was like, wait a minute, what is this about? I don't know. I guess I just sort of got the scripts and figured out that, oh dear, it's getting worse.
I thought we had long talks about this.
I found out a lot through my boyfriend.
Yes.
You talked to my boyfriend more than you did. I found out through him that I was gonna go all of you. I knew the book sucking thing. That was cool.
Who hasn't sucked a book from time to time, huh?
I knew how my hair was gonna get black and why, but I didn't know about the whole
Flaying?
Yeah. Oopsie.
The flaying was cool.
Yeah, man, I know a lot of chicks who were into that, actually. They like roaring for you. Do it again!
It was great. I was eating Chinese food when I saw that.
I haven't
I stopped eating Chinese food after I saw that.
I just saw it in person. I haven't seen it on, but it was gooey.
And Nicholas, you saved the world at the end.
I gotta tell you, not my first time. And right now I'm in talks with Sharon. It's weird. No, once you do it, these people think it's real, I'm going to see Putin in Russia in a week. My book is filled right now, at least until we go back to work. I'm gonna do some good work, people, okay?
You are gonna...
The war is over, so says Nick Brendan.
There's a lot of people that you need to remind about your preschool experience together.
Yeah,
He'll tell Arafat about his crayon.
And the great part about that whole little, monologue, half monologue, whatever, was the fact, and this is going to be a stroke on Joss Whedon in a very heterosexual way, is that the fact that, because when it was first written, that yellow crayon, the crayon thing wasn't in there. And then I got the second script, and having that crayon thing in there, just talking about, connecting on all these levels, was just, as an actor, just fantastic, because after I read it, I cried. And if I'm crying reading it for the first time, and then I have time to work with it, when it affects an actor that way, and thank you very much for doing that, when you see it as the character, stop. That's called talent, and that's called texture, and any actor, like anyone who's lucky to have what I have, and I am very lucky to be here right now, and then also to be saying the words and have someone like Joss Whedon in my life and having lines like that to say, it makes it a lot easier on you, and it was just, my whole, if I can, in a nutshell, break down last season, I'm gonna say yellow crayon, because that's what it was, and it was awesome.
Meanwhile, I went on the internet and someone was like, you had a yellow crayon? That's how he stopped her? This show sucks! And I was all like, that's true.
And your yellow was my blue.
I'm a hack, I
What do you know?
Well, I think our writers, Marty and Joss, are really wonderful in that sense. They kind of, like Joss was saying about the musical, he catered it to each one of our individual, needs and talents. Our writers are really listening to us. They don't just write out of, whatever they come up with, whatever they've dreamt.
Well, sometimes.
We don't like to talk about those episodes, but it's really amazing. I know I feel very comfortable, and there's just what James was saying about character progression and the darkness and everything. I think it's vital for each character to go through a dark period in their life, because that's what we go through in life. And for a show not to represent that and express that is absolutely ludicrous, because then it's not life. And I think Buffy's goal, it's a metaphor.
Yeah.
I was such a huge fan of the show before I joined, and I read many of Joss's interviews, and I was really amazed to find out, not amazed to find out, but so interested to find out how the show was structured. It was awesome, and we're all really, really lucky.
But the truth is, anything we write for you guys, you can do. and in fact...
Yeah, there's that.
There's that.
But it's got to start somewhere.
We're just being modest, really.
Yeah, okay, forget it then.
They make up their own lines. They don't even care about us. They just make...
If we were on another show, we would know what was going to happen season to season pretty much. Someone was going to get their heart broken, someone was going to kiss somebody. You can turn us into snails, man.
We turned Sarah into
Buffy's
a rat.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're very nice.
She was naughty.
At the very end, wasn't Spike trying to get the chip out of his head?
No. But you were meant to believe that he was.
Okay, all right.
This is a thing that I personally have devised called a plot twist. I think it's going to catch on with the young people.
Which actually, Joss bought the rights too, so whenever there's a plot twist, he gets paid now.
It was surprising. It was good. It was a good twist.
Well, it will pay off.
No.
I'm not crazy. The show's not over yet, correct?
What?
The show's not done yet, so
We don't have any scripts.
So there's a plot twist for a
next
reason.
season, but-
It's not a movie. Everything's not done. So.
But we do have next year figured out, and this is the part where I get to not say anything about it.
Right.
But always fun for everyone. But we're actually really excited. Again.
But Spike will have a soul.
Yes, and that always
Vampire
works out
with a
really
soul.
well, and it's very simple.
Yes. And is this going to be like an angel kind of thing where he's not going to be able to have sex anymore?
It's all she can talk
And they get a
about.
timeout for you. It's
Bad
all
idea.
sex,
bad,
sex,
bad
sex, sex.
idea. I think it'd be
I
bad
think
to
our
retread
show
Angel.
clearly comes down against sex before marriage. And so, no, it's, if it's like an angel thing, that will be embarrassing because we have an angel thing going on another network. Yes.
That was the other thing you invented, originality, right?
Yeah, the
Along with the
spin
plot
off
twist.
is
Gotcha,
also,
okay. All right.
again, for me. But no, hopefully it will be very different from Angel. Obviously, there's some similar things that are going to happen, but oh my God, it's not going to be anything that Spike has ever gone through, and if we're lucky, it's not going to be anything James has ever had to portray because it's fun to challenge him. James is the one who, when I did the musical, said, well, let's face it, if we're not getting this shit scared out of us once a year, we're not working hard enough.
How about all that
That's
sex?
the blessing of the show, by the
Oh.
way. After 5 years, most actors are bored to tears.
Yeah.
You know, we're terrified. It's a blessing.
Okay, but let's talk about the sex.
Or let's talk about snails. Which one do you want to talk about?
Speaking about being terrified, let's talk about
About
sex.
sex. There we go.
There's just a lot of sex, and I'm just logistically, how did you guys work that out? I mean,
I'll let you guys
When a
take
man
this
loves
one.
a woman.
Logistically, how did we work it out?
Marty should
Logistically,
take
I was in a sock, and Sarah was fully clothed again.
this is what I want to know. There you go.
Did you guys notice that? All of our sexy scenes? Sarah can just like every day sit back and giggle at James and his little sock. Big sock. Damn.
It was a naughty year for us, and that was deliberate also. Partially because yes, they're getting older. Partially because her relationship with Angel was all about romance, and her relationship with Spike was not. And there are two very different, passionate, intense kind of relationships, and we had done the one and wanted to do the other. And as you get older, you can get into relationships that are truly unhealthy. And but at the same time, there's also the fact that we had played metaphor for 5 years, and
We ran out of ideas.
we weren't gonna say
Marty
it.
got hers.
So we all got drunk, Marty got pregnant, there are more ideas now.
Well, it eventually you sort of have to put your cards on the table a little bit. Even though we still played metaphor, it was like when Buffy and Spike first had sex, my first comment was, au revoir, monsieur métaphore. It was so graphic. But at the same time, they were in a metaphor. They were in a falling down house, which was very, very clearly, what Buffy's life was, what was happening in her life then was just, she was losing herself. So on the one hand, and the same thing with Willow and Tara for a long time. When we started, it was a metaphor. It was spells, it was magic, and then we wanted to come out and say, okay, eventually we're just being too coy about this. We're losing the reality of it if we don't just say it. And they became girlfriends truly and became physical with each other. At the same time, we still could play the metaphor. We could play it about magic. But there is a point at which you sort of, part of the process of doing a show for 6 years and part of the process of growing up means you say goodbye to some of these more essential metaphors. You lose some of them in a period of your life when you're growing up. Life suddenly isn't this great battle. It's this tiny, mundane, very real thing. And so necessity and, I think, trying to be true to the process of growing up is what caused us to become more graphic and more physical and more literal while still trying to tell the metaphorical stories that, the show is based on.
Plus, we like porny.
Plus, we dig the porny.
No. It's just joking.
But how sophisticated is the audience going to be? Can we redeem Willow? I love it. Can we redeem Willow? Of course we can. Because we're very good. But it's not going to be easy, and it's going to be really interesting, and it's going to take probably a lot of time, And it's going to be a great
fancy
ride.
speech.
Yeah, but we're not in the days when everybody has to be peachy keen and perfect all the time. By 53 minutes, everything's got to be perfect again. We don't do that anymore, and we don't do that in spades around here.
Well, I think it's interesting too because we've gotten a lot of mail this year about sort of people longing for sort of the romanticism of Angel and Buffy and kind of a return to innocence. And this year definitely was about a kind of a loss of innocence. I mean, Buffy really lost a lot when she died and came back, and when her mother died, and her need to go to Spike had so much to do with just making herself feel. And we definitely pushed it in terms of what. It wasn't metaphoric, the sex they were having, but what it was doing to them was sort of metaphoric, I thought. And I think rediscovering innocence as you get older is another thing. So, again, it doesn't always have to be grim, but this year really had a certain kind of loss to it until the very end, when then, I think we did make a very conscious effort to say this is what's been lost, and now she's finding it again through Dawn.
What's really cool, though, is we're sitting here talking about all the main characters that have been with us the whole time and what's going on with them. We are not talking about the super monster this year. This is not a show that's devolved into a new cool monster every year. This is a show that's used the monsters as kind of window dressing and metaphor to explore the people. And I think that's why it's sustained and become interesting to the point of being dangerous last year. But
yes, that's right. It wasn't too depressing. It was too interesting. Maybe it was a little above everybody's heads. Maybe I'm a great artist.
I'm spinning, man. Work with me.
But I agree with you. I just wanted to talk about me.
One point, I do.
But I also do want to give just a slight shout out to, I think, the extremely underappreciated great evil menace of the evil trio. I think they're the best villains we've ever had. They're so awesome. They just make me laugh all the time. And if everybody ever asks what characters are really drawn from the writers, we'll lie. We'll say anybody. But the fact is, most of the conversations they had on the show, we were having in the room when we were like, oh, we better get back to writing. So what can the villains talk about? So they have a special place for us writers.
Speaking of the evil guys, and then Warren dies this horrible, excruciating death at the end. I mean, will there be consequences for Willow for killing a human?
No, I don't think we need to address it.
Nah.
That would seem depressing and weird.
I'm trying to be light.
Hey, I saved the world.
Yeah.
I saved the world.
Go Carpenter.
You'll just see Willow drawing with a yellow crayon. That's it.
Willow draws a yellow
Dawn
crayon and I
steals
saved
it.
the world.
There are consequences for everything. Again, not to the point where she'll spend all year going, I wish I was dead, why? What do you mean they're watching Gilmore what? But yeah, we'll definitely deal with it. It's, we don't let people get away with things unless there's a reason. Tony got away with it last year, the year before rather.
That's right.
He killed a person.
That's right.
And nobody ever found out.
But he's in jail now.
That's where he went.
No, I didn't mean on TV. I meant in real
Oh, in real life.
It wasn't real, I swear. I'm in jail.
What if...
That was funny, by the way.
Will he be back?
I'm actually hoping that we'll get to see a good deal more of Tony this year than last year. I do believe in what we did last year, but I also believe that, it was, with the feeling of loss was greater than even I realized, because at the beginning of the year, we knew he was going to come back at the end of episode 21, and it's still the first time I saw the footage, I was just blown away by, what a gap he filled, what an incredible presence he has, how much he brings to the show.
does he have is there a show on the BBC with?
There's actually, he has been doing a show on the BBC, but not the one that we're developing. But we are developing something for that character for the BBC. It's taking a little time.
Do you feel sometimes that you're spread too thin, or are you able to juggle all these balls at once?
Yes. Both always, and I felt it in the first year of Buffy. As I have more work, I have more people like Marty Noxon in my life that I can leave to mind the store with complete confidence. And we have an incredible writing staff, and an incredible crew, and and these bums over here, and people with whom I trust my artistic life, and that's what makes the difference. That, and I'm a little more focused than I was in the first year, because you have no choice. There's not one of the shows that's going to say, hey, you know what, this week you don't have to do an app, you're tired, it's okay, it can suck. You find it. You find the time. And
I don't think there's ever been an episode of Buffy that sucked, but...
Sweet.
Again, I love you.
So, Lesnick, Mona Michelle,
Sounds
Nikki
good.
James.
Sounds good.
Lesnick. That's cool. I'll deal. That happened. I'll deal with it.
Michelle, Dawn had some serious butt kicking to do at the end of the season. Is she mature? What's going on with her? Is she gonna grow up? You mentioned that she's gonna get to wear black next year.
Well, this is my promise, and I have witnesses. Joss has promised me that Dawn can wear heels and actual black in her wardrobe, because it's just time. I've been wearing sneakers for the past 2 years, and that's really not so fun anymore.
You don't need heels. Like 6'1".
Yes, I am the taller of the girls, but I'm hoping for more ass kicking. It's fun, man.
Especially in heels.
In heels, yeah.
Wait till 6 a.m. on a Friday night, man.
That's true, but it's, this past year has kind of been, and Joss and I and Marty have talked about this. This is Dawn's kind of a look at me, I need some attention here, and that's gone. That's over with. She's over that, right? No whining.
Or is it?
Oh dear. But this coming year, Dawn has had these past years with everyone around her, influencing her so much, from evil Willow and Soli Spike.
To Clem. Can we get like a little applause for that guy, Clem? Come on. That guy's adorable. Good job. Awesome.
He's really great. More scenes with Clem. But this is what I was saying about the whole life thing. Characters need to progress. And, if we were all pigeonholed in the same thing, it wouldn't be fun. So whether that's ass kicking or heels, it'll just be a character development, heels. And or pumps. It'll work too, really. Come on, work with me.
Looks like a pump, feels like a sneaker.
We didn't give him his medication today. We're so sorry. Damn. So that's a Joss question, I guess. Will I do stuff?
It's pretty much covered. No, obviously.
And to you.
To me, what Dawn was going through is very real, but then people were like, well, she has been complaining for an entire season. And, I think she'll move from whining to moping. And I think we'll begin to see some of the sulking that she hasn't really had a chance to do. I will tell you this. Next season...
no more kill Dawn emails, because those were not fun.
Dawn will get to, grow up like everybody does on the show, and she's at a particularly delicate place, because right now she's the age Buffy was when the show started. So we'll be able to explore a lot more issues in her life and see a lot more colors from her, and including black. Yes, I promised. And we'll get into her life somewhat more as well, because the first episode will begin with the grand reopening of the Sunnydale High School. So we will come full circle.
And aren't I Screech, and I'm working with Mr. Belding? You know it. Awesome.
No matter what we write for him, screech. It's weird.
Or AC Slater, whichever one you want to do. I'll be there for you.
Amber Benson, we haven't really talked about her yet. Couldn't she have just been wounded?
Well, she was, just mortally.
Yeah.
Oh, we wounded her. We did it. She was wounded in the spine. No, she's dead.
Yeah.
It's sad, I hope. Because if people were laughing, we failed big time. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously been quite a controversial issue, but it was so hard for us, not just because we love that relationship, because we love working with Amber and have for many years, but she knew for a long while what was coming. It was still really hard on everybody to do it. But I think that probably proves that we were right.
And also, in that, and my wife and I watched that, and it was really amazing for us because I've been watching it for 6 years now, you know, and I get blown away each year. But when she got shot, and Willow got sprayed, and Amber said, "There's something on your shirt." No joke, bro. I mean, like, we were bawling, and not only were you bawling because that person just died, but just the way that it was dealt with was so, oh, you have something on your shirt, and then just Allie did a fantastic job in that scene, and yes, you can applaud. But with the amazing acting in that scene, and just with how it was orchestrated with the writing, blew me away, and I've been doing this thing for a while, you know, and I'm behind the scenes, so that was fantastic, so good job.
You know, one of the things, that we had known about this, again, like the Tony thing for, the whole season, and one of the things that it was nice to say, again, this world becoming more literal. When Buffy killed Angel, it was all mystical, and you could buy it back, and it was with a sword and a kiss and a thing. And, and they were fighting a bigger-than-life villain. Well, he was a bigger-than-life villain, but everything was sort of grand and romantic. Our villains this year were such shemps. And the fact that he used a gun was something that we had talked about from the very beginning as part of this literalism that kind of sucks the life out of the metaphor and is so hard on our growing people. And in fact, in the 4th episode, Buffy has the line, guns, these are never useful. And she says it again in episode 15, and we put that in deliberately because we knew we were going to shoot Tara, not just kill her, but shoot her, because we wanted it to be the most mundane and appalling thing that we could think of and not in any way relate to the grand mysticism and intense metaphor of the show. And to make a statement about guns that I think, is always good to be able to make.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why people have responded so intensely, in addition to the fact that they love seeing, a realistic portrayal of gay characters was that it was so shocking. But both with the death of Buffy's mother and this, I think both times you didn't pull any punches, and the intention was, the emotional reality of the show is what we strive for every week. It is a fantasy world that we create and that Joss imagined, but when it comes to things like death of human beings and loved ones and love itself and all the things that we try to say stuff about, it gets very real, and it wouldn't have meant as much if it were some strange fantasy thing, or if she'd been decapitated by a demon or something.
Or if it was somebody that we'd seen for 3 episodes, if it wasn't somebody we loved as much.
This was so real and so painful, I know, for me personally, not only as Dawn, but for myself, because I loved Amber, and, we all just...
She's not really
Still do.
dead.
I'm so confused. It's the blonde highlights in my hair. But it's just, the thing is...
James is very offended by that.
Think how dumb he is. Wow. It's highlights. James in trouble.
It's natural. What? You look like in sync tonight. Do you like that? I will not bleach my hair in the off season.
I just think going to the whole, I was thinking about the John and development thing. Amber's, Tara's death was just so monumental for each of our characters. For Allison, of course, it was the big turn of the season, and the saving the world and the whole thing. I think it was just something as painful as it was. It really had to happen because it kind of made us all look at ourselves and as our characters, and kind of, even though you guys are all adults and everything, we all had to grow up and all had to deal with it, and it almost made us more together but separate because of our whole spins, and it was just one of the most touching and painful moments. It was amazing.
That blood was so hard to get on my shirt. I can't even tell you. Ray can tell you. We had to, first of all, there was only 2 shirts. So, like, trying to get the blood to splatter in a way, and then it kept hitting my face, and then, they'd have to go wash the shirt. Poor wardrobe ladies, they were just gonna
We went through it
die.
about 16 times. We did it with like straws, and we spit on, and we threw it, and then we'd be like, okay, Allie, now cry.
And the shirt is soaking wet pretty much because we didn't have time to like dry it, and it was a nightmare. So I'm so glad that moment came, because at the point that the blood actually hit, and it was just, I didn't even know if I had done anything, because it was just like, was that blood good? Okay, good. Let's move on. I mean, it was just.
So those were real tears.
Well, that was a cut. But,
That look of shock was actually, are we done yet?
yeah.
14
God, no
takes.
more takes, please. It was awful, but great moment.
She was very shaken up too by the whole.
Giving you the behind the scenes. That's right. It was a nightmare. Right, Ray?
It was a tough one that day, I remember, but you really pulled it off. And I remember in the color timing of this episode, when the scene played and the way it was cut, like Nick says and all, I had to cry too. It was unbelievable. Yeah.
But Ray Nick's himself a lot shaving.
And I
so
never
it
cry.
kind of goes back into his personal life.
Ray, what are some of the special challenges that you face with Buffy? I mean, because it has this really unique look. I mean, you're flipping around, you pretty much know when you've landed on Buffy. I mean,
Well, I think just getting it done in 12 hours a day, because this guy, Gareth Davies, who used to be around, he has these.
We got rid of him, didn't we?
He has these implements of destruction on his wall from the medieval periods, and I'm always afraid he's going to come down with one. But no, it's Buffy's very, it's a tough show to do. So we just get out there and do it as much as do it as fast as we can. Read the script, we make some notes, and go from there, and try to mix up the scenes, and through the context of the script, try to get a good look. Joss comes around and gives us his points of view, and tells us what he'd like to see, and we try and make it happen.
The thing about, I think the thing that's fun about it is, the thing that makes it so difficult, which is why, I respect these actors more than any I've ever known, because, they have to do everything, at the drop of a hat: comedy, horror, action. The same goes for every aspect of the show. We're constantly asking, Carrie for a space that's small enough and for Ray to light it dark enough that it can be horror, and it's trapped and you're cramped. And then we want a giant kung fu fight in there too. So you have to sort of, we really, mixing the genres works visually and literally in terms of sets and costumes and all of that stuff. And since we're constantly ping-ponging back and forth, the whole point of the show is for you never to know which kind of scene you're in. It doesn't become that, hey, here's a comedy scene, put all the light in front, make it really bright. You have to be true to the reality of the thing, while still, having it bright enough so that the jokes don't feel, they do land, yet dark enough that the horror lands, and the space and the light are very, very specific and very difficult to create, and the amount of time that these guys have to do it and the amount of money that they have to build things is not so large.
Well,
and
I didn't think you realized this.
And every week, I think the show looks beautiful. I think it has from the start, and I think these guys carry that on extraordinarily.
I love you, man.
It's
One of the great things I notice about Ray's lighting is you can always tell where the light is coming from and from what, whether it's sunshine coming in from windows, whether it's firelight, whatever it is, what time of day it is always very clear with the lighting. And that is easy to do if you're willing to let the actors suffer, half of them at half light. Right? So you can either light the heck out of the set, in which case all the actors are happy because we have a huge amount of light and we all look rested, we look great, or you can light it really interestingly and with the source light coming from a place that you can tell, but the actors don't look quite as good. And Ray balances that really well.
Well, we didn't exactly hire trolls. I realize you can all act, but there's also another reason you're TV stars.
And Ray also has to fight that there's a lot of girls on the show, and we like our little hairs like this. So he's got this much space to get light into. It's like, could you maybe push the hair? What? Push that hair?
That's the style.
I can't. My contouring. What?
The eyeshadow effect.
Yeah, you can't handcuff them. They need some room there to act, and they do a great job. And they're all pretty easy to light because they take it very well. And I'm pretty lucky when it comes to that.
Nice.
But I mean, seriously, you can see that we spend more time than other shows. I mean, the crew calls the show around town. It's called Buffy the Weekend Killer because we don't get. But because we're all straining towards something better, we know that we can if we just put a little extra effort into it. And it doesn't really play so much for the actors who don't have to be there the whole time, but the crew.
And also, exactly, yeah, if we can just, if you guys just applaud, because those guys...
12-hour day is the
5 days a week, 15-hour days. I mean, we have our time, but those guys make it happen.
There's most TV shows, if you work a 12-hour day, that's the max. That's we worked a 12-hour day last month. It's a big deal. If we work or if the crew works less than 12 hours a day, that's a special thing on Buffy.
I know it's hard work, but it's fun because we all love what we do. We come there, we can just tell because Ray's so nice is because he wants to be there every day. And our writers like writing for us because we love speaking their words. And we work hard for you guys.
Well,
so
Ray
thank
really...
you for coming out here to begin with and for watching us.
You've assembled a group of people that really kind of care about each other, frankly. The crew.
Well, I mean,
we've been together 6 years.
When we started talking, it seems like years ago. I was talking about how the musical started, and it just everything. It came from that episode we were doing, which we were so excited when we were working on it, and it was so much fun to make, and it led to so much more. And it really does come from these people on both sides of me. Carrie is working on Firefly, but he's also working on Buffy. And yeah, a lot of the people from Buffy and Angel went to Firefly because, they had been on the shows for a long time and they wanted to move on. And to be able to have that rather than just doing something completely different, just increasing the family and keeping it within the circle, because the circle really exists between what we get back from you, what we give to each other, what we get from Ray. Everything Allison said, since I don't get lit, I think I can say this without being accused of looking for the light, is true. It's the energy that's on a set, a lot of it comes from the DP, and that's really, really important. And I think the energy on set is really good. I've been on the other kind of show, and it feeds us. It does. My love for these guys, makes me want to work harder for them, and that applies to every single crew member. And you can tell when we did the musical, you can tell when the dolly grip is really excited about a camera move because he understands it's part of the story. He doesn't he's not punching a clock. He's telling a story. And I think every single person, the sound guy, every single person on the set has a chance to feel that because the actors feel it, because the people who are setting the tone like Ray and Marty feel it, because everybody in every department is going to be pushed as hard as they can to work as well as they can and going to be appreciated for it, because if they didn't do it, I couldn't do it. None of us could, and the thing would collapse. So
you're trying
everybody
to save
loves
your ass
everybody.
with Wayne, aren't you?
What?
You really are. You were so specific. I remember that. Wayne is the dolly, is the dolly grip. He's fabulous, but you were making him clear the pole on the third beat of the second measure. I mean that's. No. And he was grumbling, but at the same time, when he got it right, he would come on, I got it, mate, it's great.
Wayne grumble?
I mean, I feel none of us ever have to worry because not only are we surrounded by a great crew and a truly great, DP, we just, we're told when we suck. We can do an awful take and Joss come up and be like, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it that way.
He's like, let's try it this way. And he never tells us we're wrong, but I know that the take that's going to be printed is not going to be awful because there's just a whole trust thing. With the body, we did about 25 takes of, is she dead? Is she dead? With Mom lying on the ground. And it was the last take, and every time it was just a little bit here and just a little bit there. And I was so freaked out because, that's so much pressure. But in the end, I mean, the take that was picked, it's all about trust. It's great.
I also, I'm being very facetious when I say we feel cheated on, because I don't think, by other shows, because I don't believe that Joss would never go do something else unless he felt like it was time in a way, and that the show had enough of a feeling of community and family and a sense of a staff of writers who have developed. I mean, we have incredible writers. Every person on our staff could run their own show, could write and run their own show. Well, yes, among others. I wasn't going to mention him. And I think that one thing I can say about you among many things, and I feel like we're sort of falling into the aren't we incredible show, but it's really truly true that Joss would never leave to do another show unless he felt like Buffy would be as good as ever, and he will work as hard as he can to make sure that that is true. I mean, I have no doubt that we're going to be just fine, and that he's going to, give himself to everything as much, because it seems like he's just got this scary alien ability to just do more. It makes him do more.
The thing about Joss is that he knows he knows where each character will be in like 20 years. He's that specific. When we were doing the musical episode, we were trying to figure out all the color schemes and how everything was going to work, like in the bronze with the dance and everything. And I forgot what I said, but I made a comment, and Joss was like, "Oh, honey, I will pick the color of your socks. That's how specific I will be." So he's a perfectionist, but it makes us work harder, and we're really damn proud of it.
Yeah.
For God's sake, somebody ask a question.
I know. You know what? It's the end.
That's a good question.
So it's not really a question, but it's well, I guess we could.
No, but we all have actually question booths outside. $5 a question.
That's right.
I'm on Lancashire. Allie's on Riverside.
That's right. Well, let me just ask you this though.
Find her.
Is there anything that you can tell us about next season? Is there just like one thing that you can say?
I did. Weren't you listening to the whole high school thing? I can tell you this, that
It's huge.
it's a large
If I had
thing.
said that, I'd be dead next season. He's gonna bring the high school back. Oh dear. Just forget I said that.
Ray, get the old lady filter. Get the Channing.
Is the Double Meat Palace coming back?
No.
Actually, interestingly enough, the Double Meat Palace is this, in the episode with the most sex and the most controversy we've ever had, the Double Meat Palace was the only thing we ever did that made advertisers pull out. They did not like us making fun of fast food. They felt that was a terrible idea, and wouldn't it be nice if we stopped? So that's the most controversial thing we have ever ended up doing, was the Double Meat Palace.
Oh, that's so funny.
Sarah is very upset about not getting to wear the hat anymore, but that's a pain she's going to take. She's going to use that pain in her acting.
She loved that.
What I can say about next year is, the reopening of the high school is.
I think she said keels, not heels.
I know.
Skin wear.
Is where we're starting, and it represents a lot of what we're talking about in terms of getting back to the very first mission statement of the show. We've explored the very dark side of power, and although next year will contain much horror and anguish, as it always does, next year is really about the original statement of the show, which is the joy of female power, of having it, using it, sharing it. And Willow dies.
All right then, great. Well, thanks everyone for coming. I hope you had as
Thank
good
you.
time as I did.
Thank you very much, and thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. You're awesome. Thank you.